Welcome to the Extended Gamut Podcast, episode 10.
10. We made it to 10.
We made it to 10, and in honor of our 10th episode, we have a special guest today, Syd Northup from Marabu, and we are excited to have a conversation with Syd about all things Laminate, Marabu, and Syd related, so stay tuned. Here we are, Andy.
Here we are. Andy and Syd.
These are my favorite podcasts because it's like, it's special guest time. I love getting to know people.
Yeah. No, and we don't have to do any preparation, and we just sit down and have a good time with a guest.
Is that why it's your favorite?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Interesting. That says a lot about your work ethic. So I was able to meet Syd here and there throughout the market. But then I really got to know you at the first official trade show we did after COVID. We were in, I think it was La Crosse, Wisconsin.
That's correct, La Crosse.
And we had a sales rep, and he was like on one leg and needed help. And I think everyone was scared to go to a trade show. So I said, I'll do it. And then I got introduced to Syd, got to know him a little more. And I was like, whatever I thought of him before then, I felt a little better after that. Like if I was at a 3, I ended up at like a 4 after I met you,
It's my golf swing.
So we got to have some fun and get to know each other. Then we'd see each other at trade shows. And now here we are. And you're representing Marabu, which is a distributor that we sell.
So what is Marabu? Why don't we start there?
What is Marabu?
What is Marabu?
I looked up Marabu online to see what Marabu said about Marabu. Marabu is a world-leading manufacturer of screen, digital, and pad printing inks, as well as liquid coatings. And thanks to their unique features, their printing inks provide an enormous variety of solutions for graphic and industrial printing applications. I mean, can you say it better than that?
No. I think we'll go with that. No, Marabu's been around for a long time. German-based company. I'm out of the Charleston, South Carolina headquarters of North America, and we mainly focus on screen and pad. We also have a creative division, but my division is the digital division, which includes inks and coatings. But primarily coatings is what we're going to talk about today, right? I think we're going to kind of dig into that a little bit.
Well, German-based company. I noticed German-based companies, GmbH. There's like that after. What does that mean?
That's a really good question. I do not know.
Okay.
We have to look that one up.
We're going to have to Google it.
Yeah.
I got you.
We're going to have our research person.
It's like incorporated.
Work on that. It's like Inc. or something for.
It means company with limited liability. In German, it's Gesellschaft mit Beschränkter Haftung.
Are you German?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I thought so.
Wow.
So that's what it means. It's just like a LLC.
All right. That's great. How did you find yourself working at Marabu?
Good question. I have been in the industry about 20, 25 years and started using Marabu inks when I owned a print shop called Blue Wave Print. Blue Wave Print, I started around 2005. We had an old Roland FJ50 or something, and I put Marabu inks into it. I was kind of the guinea pig at that time. And then I started learning about all these awesome coatings like Clear Shield and Clearjet. So I ended up using the product, and that's how I got to know Marabu. And then a bunch of colleagues from Sawgrass Technologies back in the day, in the sublimation days, all of a sudden started working for Marabu. So I kind of got recruited from within that group. Bob Keller, Patrick Forney, to name a couple.
Okay. And have you always been in Charleston, South Carolina?
No, previous to Charleston, I was in California. And I was in software sales.
Okay.
So I was selling some pretty cool software out there. Got married, and my wife is from the South, so she moved me closer to her family and our family, really. So
my wife's from the South, not the south of France, not the south of the south of Illinois, which is actually in central Illinois. That's considered southern Illinois.
They are like the South.
But you go about 2 hours south of Chicago, and it just becomes the South.
Yeah.
Is there?
You immediately put a cowboy hat on. You don't even know why. You just put it on. You roll your sleeves up.
So the speech changes, their dialect.
I start smoking real cigarettes. It's wild.
Oh man,
Charleston, South Carolina. So hobbies in Charleston.
Charleston's a great city.
Yeah, lots of great food in the town, lots of tourism, obviously. But my hobbies would be surfing, golf, travel, family, but little fishing, little boating, little scurfing.
I'm trying to think if I told my family that my hobby was them. Like, yeah, and one of my hobbies is being with you guys. What do you think they would say?
I think they'd be excited to get on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just a hobby, son. Do you have land?
No, as in Marabu or Syd Northup.
No, Syd.
I have.
What is this interview?
I want to get to know the man.
Yeah, I've got land. I mean, I have a home on land.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I think of the South, I think of like just you have just
Plantation.
acres. You know, you're growing like oranges,
peaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, cotton.
I knew it.
Yes. There are a lot of plantations around where I live, actually, and you're kind of hitting onto a spot. People come down there specifically to see all the Civil War and all of the, things that attribute to Sumter, Fort Sumter and Sullivan's Island. So there's a lot of history. Yeah. But you're right. In Charleston proper, there's a lot of cool plantations, and I do not own one or live on one.
Okay.
Yet.
I took my kids onto a warship there.
You took them on went through the Hunley, maybe the submarine, or did you go on the USS Yorktown?
Yeah, the Yorktown.
The Yorktown, sure.
You don't live on that, do you?
No, I was just on it the other day.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay. See, Andy?
Yeah.
I'm making connections. All right, we've learned about Syd. Why don't we learn a little bit about coatings? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. We're about 5 minutes in. We should talk about coatings.
I was warming the audience up.
Yeah. No,
hopefully you feel warm if you're driving in your car or watching this on YouTube.
I'm warm and tingly. I think we're ready to go.
Let's do it.
All right, so coatings. So what are some of the applications, some of the major applications that you see people using Marabu coatings for in the print industry, let's say?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of substrates in the canvas wall covering world that's super popular right now. So you can take any of the variety of printers and inks that you're using today in your shop, print that, and then coat it with our water-based coatings. So we have a great line of coatings that are specific to those substrates. So for example, we have a canvas guard. Obviously that's for canvas. And then we also have a wall armor product that's for wall graphics. But better yet, we do have an application or a way to apply that by rolling it, spraying it, pneumatic spraying it, or we can use our StarLam liquid laminator, roll-to-roll laminator.
Yeah.
So outside of the laminator itself, the StarLam is an actual product.
Oh yeah, yeah. The StarLam is we have quite a few StarLams out there in the world. And those products specifically are roll-to-roll liquid laminators that meet a specific purpose for your application. So, for example, let's say you've got some heavy industrial type customers, or you're working in restaurant, you're working in hospitals, or you're working in hotels. We have a product and a solution for that roll-to-roll laminator called Wall Armor that gives a Type 2 certification. So we're hitting very specific applications for the market right now.
Yeah. So Star Lamps, you have 64-inch as a footprint, so that would service a lot of our roll-to-roll printers. But then I learned today you guys sell a 10-foot option.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, made to order.
Yeah.
8 foot or 10 foot. Absolutely. Most commonly, we're seeing the 64 to marry up with a lot of the application providers or media manufacturers. So, 64 is our popular one. But we do support and have multiple 8 foot and 10 foot machines.
Yeah.
So if I put the product on the wall covering, what is that going to allow me to What sort of protection is this, right? So it's wall covering in a restaurant, in a hotel, and that's because then I can use a cleaning agent on it, or it'll wash off, or it won't stick. Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, great question. That's one of the main features is UV protection, right? So where we're protecting the UV of the inks that you're using, and we're also protecting from marring, scratching, abrasion. Those are really popular valid points to this. But I would also say that cleaning agents is key. We have customers using harsh chemicals in physician offices that are they're applying heavy loaded chemicals, and even over COVID, as we saw, people went crazy over cleaning. So our wall armor product for those wall graphics are great for that. They're going to protect the graphic. You're going to be able to clean it with those harsh chemical cleaners, and you're not going to walk up to it, scratch it, and be worried that you're going to have a big scratch line through the graphic. And then as light comes in certain areas of the office, you're going to have UV protection so it doesn't dull the inks on your expensive wall graphic.
Mm-hmm. So talking about scratch resistance, one of the things that all the manufacturers seem to be going after when they bring out a new printer and a new ink set, it's always like, well, our inks are this much more scratch resistant, this much more. When you hear that, like with HP latex or whatever, does it make you cringe? Because it's like, well, if they get too good, then I'm going to be out of a job. Or is it just that there's always going to be this need for?
Yeah, I think there's, without going down the rabbit hole of printers that manufacturers are saying that, the actual Type 2 certification or the actual application of an ink onto a substrate completely nullifies that Type 2 certification. So what we're doing is we're simply saying, here's this coating. It's not only going to protect your image and your ink and your wall covering, but it's also going to protect those inks. And at the end of the day, the product's just going to last a lot longer. I don't think I cringe too much when I hear that, but I also think to myself, they just need to know about it. Customers need to know. Your customers need to be able to go, hey, this is something I can offer. This is an added value. We're not trying to replace film. Film is something that has its place in our category. We're saying, here's a liquid laminate. It's going to create a protectant around your customer, and it's just going to give them that good, safe feel of I'm protecting my what I send out the door or what I work on internally in a shop. We have customers that they handle so much of their graphics that they're touching them, they're cutting them, they're rolling them up, and by the time they get to the customer, they may be cracked. That ink may have some issues to it. So this is just adding that benefit to in-house production of the cutting and rolling up, or the application for a canvas, for example. If they're going to take that and they're going to stretch it, our canvas guard's going to protect not only the ink on it, but when you go to stretch it, it's going to protect it from cracking. The ink and also the coating. So
when you say it's not replacing film, so when you're like, just help our listeners understand what you mean by that, because some might not know what you mean by not replacing film. Are we talking about a laminator with a roll of laminate and you're mirroring that with a
exactly
print?
Yeah, so a film laminator, we're not that. Our goal isn't to go chase that market down. That has its place in our industry, as you know, with car wraps,
right,
transit, things of that nature. What we're saying is, you've got an option here that coats things with texture, right? So anything that has something throughout texture on a wall or a hand or a feel to it, we're going to be able to take our coatings, whether you roll it on, as I mentioned, or use the roll-to-roll laminator, you're going to be able to protect that, and you're going to still get that same feel to it.
Okay. Those are real bricks in the background if you're watching, so you wouldn't necessarily put it on there. Yeah.
So I think some of our listeners might hear you describe that and think, well, that's just another cost of something I got to put onto my material. What do the costs look like? You had mentioned earlier off camera. Like how can we describe this to a customer? Like about roughly, generally, how much do you add to the cost of a product? What do you get? How much do you have to spend to get this extra durability, this extra?
Sure. Yeah, good question. We are in gallons, we're in 5 gallon containers, we're in drums. We also are even sell it in quarts. So depending on the volume of what you purchase, it's going to dictate what that price point is and cost per square foot. So we're on average in around 10 cents upwards to about 15 cents. So if you're buying it by the gallon, you're up there around 15 cents. You're buying it by 5 gallon, you're in the 10 cents range. 55 gallon drums, you're even lower to that, some north of 7 cents, 8 cents. So your price points are going to change based on your volume, obviously. Yeah. You're going to achieve in a gallon of our product about 600 square feet to a gallon. You're going to see a quart last about 200, maybe 150 square feet, depending on how much you're laying out or rolling. In the Star Lamb, you're going to achieve more per square foot. Typically, because it's got a thinner viscosity and it's going to run longer and it's going to do that self-circulation, as we talked about earlier, through the Star Lamp. So you're going to preserve more of the product. But back to kind of what you were saying about your customers. Now, why do I want to go through this? Is it a hassle? Protecting your graphics and protecting something and having longevity, it's all about reputation. I mean, I had a print shop. And I got those liquid coatings because I knew if it went out the door and somebody was going to go put that up on a wall graphic, for example, a view through, and they were going to go apply that onto their front doorway and it's going to fade after 3 or 4 months. That was my reputation. So we use these coatings to secure the inks and preserve the life of them on graphics. I mean, that's really what we're about.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that I like about the liquid laminates is that it's an easy entry. So like if you want to use a film laminate, you can't just test it, right? You have to go and buy a laminator or use someone else's laminator and make sure it's going to work for the product. But in this case, most of these applications you could roll on and see how it's going to work before you invest in a Star Lamb, which is around $15,000. You can do it at a small scale.
Yeah, absolutely. We can send you free samples, send you some quartz, try it out on your substrates. We even have an in-house sampling program that I run for UV. I run it for Clear Shield products. And so we bring it in-house. We test it. If it's everything from a pickleball paddle to graphics that go onto a truck, I'll sample it in-house and make sure it works for you. But we can also send that out to any of the viewers watching. If you want some, just let us know. We'll send it out to you to test.
Yeah. So you can roll it on. We're not talking about pickleball. We can.
Andy got so nervous when you said pickleball. I like to talk about pickleball, but I'm just going to make a note. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, we can circle back. So you can roll it on. You can Star Lamb it on. What are the other ways that you would apply it?
Yeah, one of my favorite ways is to spray. You can use the
Wagner sprayer.
Well, you want to buy a little bit better one
Okay.
than just the standard Wagner. You're going to spend about $150, and it's a Husky. You can find them at Lowe's or Home Depot, a little pancake compressor, and you're going to want to use that. Some of them are even battery operated, but you're going to want to, if you're going to go into spraying, you're going to want to have a little bit of a conversation about it. Make sure you have the right product. You're using Clear Shield Select or any of our products, you're going to want to make sure you may need to dilute it a little bit with water when you're spraying it. But we have great videos online that show you how to spray it, what not to do, what to do, not create the arch effect versus just flat effect with spraying. But that is the smoothest way to apply our product. Rolling and laying products flat, our product wants to self-level. So as we showed earlier in our demonstrations, we were rolling it on, and then it actually wants to self-level. So when you go to spray it, there is a little bit of a little testing that you want to do. But once you get the hang of it, it's not too difficult. And then brushing. If you have something that I had a guy that was making 3D owls on I think a Roland 3D printer, and color was printed onto it. And he was like, how am I going to protect this? So he ended up using a brush and using our ClearJet product, and he was using it to get inside the different areas of that owl that would go sit out in, let's say, a garden or whatnot. So any of that kind of craft type stuff that you want to protect that's going to get UV, you could brush it and apply it with a brush.
What about, I know when people spray, there's like the booth set up. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. And
Yeah. Yeah. You got to
you got to know what you're doing.
You got to be in it.
Or do some research.
You've got to be in it. We have guys that have spray booths with baker racks that are doing, dye bond pieces, things like that. They got to dry it. You got to have a process, and you got to have all the right gear for that, and be in it with when you go to spray it pneumatically. So yeah.
Is that a viable solution for rigid substrates, or is that more for roll canvas, banners, that kind of thing to spray?
Yeah. So when we go into rigid substrates, rolling on is a great way to do it, but you've got a thickness thing there, right? You're dealing with what's on that roller, thicker roller, and you're adding a lot of product to it. When you go to spray, you can actually kind of put a lighter coat onto it, maybe come back, hit it with a second coat, but you have nice, smooth, even strokes with a pneumatic sprayer, and that works really good for hard substrates.
Okay.
Signage, outdoor, things of that nature, whether it's solvent, latex, printed. We support a variety of different inks, but for flat outdoor substrates, spraying is the way to go.
Okay. So the other method we talked about, or I guess product, is this Marabu UV coating.
Yeah.
And so I had always kind of thought that would be best for rigid substrates because you can put it through a UV coater that could handle a rigid substrate. So tell us about that product and where you see it being used.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that there's not more of it, that it's not being, I would predict that there's probably 15, maybe 20 Burkle machines out there. We know the cost on those machines versus a tech lighting machine. But, I find it kind of shocking when I go into these bigger print shops and I see multiple flatbeds, invested capital in big flatbed machines, and then no post coating, onto it with a UV coater. So our product, Marabu, goes into both of those machines. Once it gets input into those machines with the right substrate, maybe you're doing corrugated boards, maybe you're printing cardboard boxes, maybe you're doing direct to dye bond, maybe you're doing real estate signs. We have a product that correlates to each one of those. We have a rigid, flexible, corrugated, and anti-graffiti, but it's instantaneous as it cures. Going back to Clear Shield, it's drying based on time, and Clear Jet as well. But with this, it's getting mercury hit with light, UV light, and it's instantly curing it. So as it goes through that roll to roll UV coater, it's getting a roller that has a specific film thickness to it, and it's rolling right through and curing it right on the spot. So what you're seeing out there, and what you're asking about, I'm just surprised there's not more of it out there. I mean, it's a pretty cool product. That entire solution is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. And it's a big investment to bring in. So like a tech lighting machine is around $80,000 and these Burkle machines, $200,000 maybe.
Yeah.
So to be able to test it first is really something that you've said you can help us with. So as a customer is trying to think through an application, or, I just yesterday had someone asking about, wanting to laminate a birch wood, and like they're printing on birch wood and they want to see, like, can we get better scratch resistance? You'd be able to help us test out before they make this giant investment.
Absolutely. Yeah. We work with all of the coating manufacturers and our UV coater manufacturers, but we have them in-house too. We have 3 of them in-house that we can run tests on. So
yeah. Cool. All right. You can talk about pickleball if you want.
Well, before we get to pickleball, we will talk about pickleball. Some of these new printing technologies, they've separated out, or they have an additional feature at the end of the printing process, right? Latex has the overcoat, right? They have the optimizer, the inks, then the overcoat. The new V7000 from Epson has the varnish, right? So that's a clear,
shield.
Well, I don't want to say clear shield, but it's like the post-process. Yeah. So now you have that. And then you have something like a Clear Shield or Wall Armor, help me understand the difference between those. Like, if I have one, why do I need the other? Or why would I ever double dip?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a jettable varnish or an overcoat that's going on to that. That is going specifically over the print area. Where we differ is we differ in viscosity, right? So that has a very specific jettable, chemistry behind it, right? So that's going to actually, that varnish is going to actually protect the inks in that specific area. We're not really trying to compete with that world. That has its place. Whether you're doing tumblers, cylindrical through direct-to-object machines, whether you're doing them on your UV flatbed back here, those are viable solutions to it. We find that once we do crosshatch testing, or we do any type of real testing to create UV stability or scratch resistant, our coatings have a superior lifetime over a print. And once tested and you see those differences, our product just gives you that added benefit of coating over it. You could turn off the overcoat, you can turn it on those machines, but our product's not really competing directly. You'd want to do your tests, right? Always they say test. So you'd want to be able to take an overcoat print. If your customer is concerned about that, we'd supply the sampling program to test all of that.
55-gallon drum.
Yeah, there you go.
That was a joke.
But no, we have tested a lot of that. And really what it comes down to in a lot of cases, what we're finding is the ink adhesion. So the ink adhesion to substrates, these odd type substrates. Pickleball. So we, a lot of these substrates that people are trying to get ink to stick to, we make a whole series of primers that help with that adhesion.
This is being printed.
Correct.
You're putting something down.
Right. And then you've got the ink coming down. You may have a varnish that you're putting down. And in some cases, you don't need a coating, depending on what what the final product is. So our world is not really kind of merging with that jettable type varnish. We're just saying, hey, you're doing canvas, you're doing a variety of different types of banners, or you're doing things that just don't really need like a film, or you don't want to spend the extra cost to put that varnish on it. Here's a low cost way to coat it and get it out the door.
Interesting.
You can also, another benefit of your guys' coatings is the ability to change the sheen or the finish, right? So you have matte, you have satin, you have gloss. With an overcoat or a varnish, you got one finish. So being able to get protection and then also add that finishing touch of what you want the actual product to look like is another benefit.
Yeah, semi-gloss, gloss, matte finishes. We use a lot with matting agents to get it to look. That's real popular right now. A lot of people are really searching for the most matte thing that they can find, so they're not getting glare, things like that. So we do a lot with sheen in our building when we make it.
Can customers mix their own Clear Shield flavors to get their own finish, or you don't recommend it?
We've had some try and do that, or actually try to request to get matting agents to make it more. But our product is bottled and manufactured right in Charleston, and it is the way it is.
Yeah.
If you do that, you're kind of on your own. But we've had that asked before. It's a good question.
All right. So, we got to talk about pickleball.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate, I had patience.
Yeah, good job.
But pickleball.
Never played.
This is one of the fastest growing sports in America right now.
Right.
What are you doing? You're saying you can put
Why
your
don't you play
coating.
pickleball?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. You put the coating on so that it adheres. The ink would adhere to the pickleball paddle, and then you're going to put it on after so that through playing it's not wearing the ink off.
Yeah, just think of a coroplast.
Yeah.
Sitting on a UV printer, and somebody's printing the shape of a pickle ball paddle, and then they want to coat that, right? They want to protect it, or they may want to even add some kind of an agent to have it and have a little bit of resistance, like a sand or
that
something.
Grit, yeah.
A grit to it, right? So, we get these I say that because it's growing and it's a neat world. They're even trying to figure out ways to coat the actual courts and areas around pickleball to support advertising and things of that nature. So, but the pickleball paddle itself, it's an interesting one. We're working with companies to perfect a coating for that can be sprayed onto it. And possibly mixed with something to give it some grit. So we do a lot of real odd things out there, and that's one that came across my. I
will let you know that tennis players predominantly hate pickleball. They think it's ridiculous, and there's people encroaching on their sport. I like tennis, but I also like pickleball.
How about ping pong?
Yeah, no, I like ping pong. I like racket sports.
Okay.
Platform tennis, paddle tennis. A new sport coming up is called padel, not to be confused with paddle. You can spend a lot of time on YouTube, but
you can tune into our other podcasts.
Yes.
The paddle.
Where we talk about cars and racket sports.
And bourbon.
And style. Oh, man. Well, do you have any other questions for this?
I did want to mention one other thing that I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Marabu makes a product for antimicrobial coating too.
Yes.
I don't think we probably even have access to sell it, but it's kind of cool. So with
Yeah,
COVID and everything, you guys came out with.
Yeah, we came out with an antimicrobial during COVID that kind of met the needs of a customer that had a wall graphic scenario in a water park. And as fungus or algae kind of grows in certain areas of that, they wanted to be able to protect the wall graphics. They didn't want a kid walking up to the wall and putting their tongue on the wall and having a UV print there. So they're already currently a wall armor user. And so they were able to add our Maraband to the wall armor and mix it right into it and create a shield or a barrier for antimicrobial. So that was pretty cool. And that is a product available. So if you have, if you're around a hot tub, and you've got signage around that area, and there's the requirement, for a certificate of occupancy for something like that, we have it, and we can add it into our coatings.
And then you can lick anywhere you want.
That if you
that's actually their tagline: "Lick anywhere you want."
Wow, you can't pee in the pool, but you can lick anywhere you want.
Watching your face as he described a water park, it was pretty classic.
Interesting.
You got strong feelings on indoor water parks.
I've tried it.
Yeah.
I've tried different varieties of it. I mean, you could try to get to the most bougie indoor water park, but they're all pretty much the same. I mean, maybe we'll save that for a different episode.
That's on our other podcast.
That could be offensive to some of our listeners. So,
well, just like pickleball, never been to an indoor water park yet. But I guess we're up in the, upper Midwest here. You got to have some indoor activity, right?
Yeah, we got 8 months where we can't step outside.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys need some warmth and a hot tub, and we have a lot of warmth in the South, so we don't need it down there. We have outdoor ones.
Well, you have your own problems
on the plantations.
You got your own problems down there.
All right, so this is Syd. We appreciate you taking the time. We talked about hot applications, wall coverings, canvas. We talked about it not replacing film. We talked about the StarLam. Wall armor, type 2 certifications for hotels, restaurants. We talked about what GmbH means. We talked about Blue Wave prints.
Yeah.
And California, married.
Cali.
Moved to Charleston. Talked about all sorts of different stuff. My favorite thing we talked about is that the product itself likes to self-level. That's sort of a cool thing.
Yeah.
So I would just say I think this guy knows his stuff, Andy.
He does. And we got him as a resource. So as we're talking to customers, we can get Syd on the phone and make sure we find the right solution. It's good to have someone like you on our team.
Yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time to come out here, join us, answer some questions. And we'll see you next time on the Extended Gamut podcast.